I chose to discuss my favorite part of the brain, the insular cortex, in this presentation. Generally, the function of the insula is thought to combine information related to bodily sensations, emotions, and cognitive functions by integrating lower-level physiological information with higher-order cognitive and emotional processes. The insula is located deep within the lateral sulcus of the brain. It is not visible from a surface view, which has made it particularly hard to study. The insula also has been known as the island of Reille because it was initially discovered by Johann Christian Reille in 1809. Now that we know generally what the insula does, where it is, and let's get into the structure of this amazing and complex brain area. The insula is separated from its surrounding region by the circular sulcus of the insula, which is also known as the sulcus of Reille. It is a semicircular sulcus that separates the insula from its neighboring gyri of the operculum. The insula can be divided in a variety of ways. One of the simplest ways the insula is divided is into two regions, the anterior and posterior insula, by the central sulcus of the insula. The insula can then be further divided within the posterior and anterior divisions. The anterior insula consists of 4 gyri, and the posterior insula consists of 2 gyri, all of which are pictured and listed here. The insula has many connections and projections to other areas of the brain. There are too many projections to cover all of them, but generally the anterior portion primarily has connections with the anterior cingulate, frontal, orbitofrontal, and anterior temporal areas, while the posterior portion of the insula primarily has connections with the posterior temporal, parietal, and sensory motor areas. There is also a mid-insula transitional area that demonstrates structural connections similar to both the anterior and posterior insula cortices. Now that we know a little bit about the structure of the insula, let's get into the most exciting part, its functions. Due to the increased utilization of functional neuroimaging techniques, the function of the insula has become an area of interest to many neuroscientists. In a meta-analysis by Kurth and colleagues, the team suggested that there are 4 functionally distinct regions of the insula, which I will explore for the remainder of the presentation. While these categorizations are likely an oversimplification, they help to clarify the connections between the insula, other brain regions, and their connection to the main function associated with the insula. First, I will discuss the sensory motor processing, which mainly occurs in the anterior-posterior long gyri of the insula. The insula receives visceral afferent projections conveying interoceptive information from all over the body. Visceral sensations like difficulty breathing were also observed when electrical stimulation was applied to the insula. Motor responses like vomiting were observed due to electrical stimulation as well. This role in visceral processing, along with reports of heart rate and blood pressure changes following electrical stimulation in lesions of the insula, lead researchers to believe that the insula also plays a role in autonomic functions. Along with visceral and autonomic functions, the insula also likely plays a role in interoception, which is the physical sense of the state of the body. Increased insular activity has been observed when patients have been made aware of these physiological conditions. It's been proposed that information is received and refined posterior to anteriorly. Visceral rough information is first processed in the posterior portion of the insula, and then in the mid and anterior portions of the insula, the information is abstracted and integrated into a more refined perceptual map of the state of the organism. This is in line with the currently accepted overall function of the insula as an information integration hub. The posterior insula is often activated in response to pain, regardless of type or location of pain. The thermosensory cortex, which is part of the brain responsible for temperature sensation, is likely located in the insula as well, as demonstrated by a study conducted by Craig and colleagues. In auditory processing, the insula has efferent projections it receives from a variety of auditory regions, so it's not surprising that it's involved in auditory processing. Insular activation is typically observed in functional neuroimaging involved in sound detection, auditory temporal processing, nonverbal stimuli, and phonological processing. Insula is thought to be involved in processing the intensity, quality, and effective value of taste stimuli. The same region is involved in oral somatosensory processing and higher-level processes like attention to taste and expectations. The insula also likely plays a part in modulating the intensity of olfactory stimuli and likely with a greater impact on unpleasant odors. The socio-emotional processing. As the insula often combines lower-level information like bodily experience with higher-level processes, it would make sense that the insula would be involved in integrating the physical sensations of emotions with the higher level experience of emotions. Numerous neuroimaging studies have supported the idea that the anterior insula, particularly the left anterior insula, plays an important role in empathy and social cognition. Empathy requires interoception, self-awareness, social cognition, and sensory motor systems for subjective feeling and social interaction, which are all the functions that relate to the insula. Studies have shown that the left anterior insula is important for distinguishing primordial emotions like disgust, fear, and happiness, highlighting its importance in empathy and social cognition. The insula is likely to play an important role in emotional aspect of risky decision-making as well. The insula's role in viscerosensory processing, emotion, and connections with the orbital frontal cortex, which is a key structure in decision-making, make it a likely player in risky decision-making. Based on an fMRI experiment, activation of the anterior insula has been found to mediate the relationship between mood, state, and decision bias, against reinforcing the role of emotional aspect of risky decision-making. Finally are the cognitive functions. The body of research suggests that the dorsal anterior insula integrates external sensory information with internal emotional and bodily state signals to coordinate brain network dynamics and initiate switches between the default mode network and the central executive network. There is a controversy around the contribution to the insula in relation to speech, but the insula likely plays a role in the motor planning of speech and speech production. Its importance as a critical or secondary is still up for debate. Thank you for listening to my presentation on the insula. I hope you found this region of the brain to be as interesting as I do. And now you know about the insula.